Good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of Lunchtime Learnings. I'm delighted to be joined by the very energetic, inspirational Alex Tan, who is the Regional Sales Director at Andrews Property Group. I've never known Alex, so firstly, welcome and thank you for your time this afternoon. I'm incredibly grateful. And in all the podcasts I've done before and put out that I'm going to have a guest, I don't think I've had so many people saying, "Oh, I'm so excited about this one. Alex is inspirational. She's an amazing, amazing lady." So I'm
No
super
pressure.
excited.
My gosh.
I'm super excited to find out why everybody feels so highly and passionately about you, which is amazing.
Me
So,
too,
firstly,
Stephen.
you're right. Absolutely no pressure on that introduction whatsoever. So welcome. So, tell us a little about yourself. How did you manage to become an estate agent, and a very good one at that? And tell us about your journey.
Sure. So I went to university and I studied business. I thought, what do I do now? And I went into advertising. So from selling publications and adverts in publications, and it was cold calling on the phone, relentless, very boiler room esque. Um, and I did it for a year. So in that environment, that's solid. But it was tough. It was really tough. And I think what that made me realize is that I want to be able to connect with customers, meet with them, and interact with them face to face. So then naturally for me, property seemed like an absolute no-brainer. Although when I did start in the industry, it was 2008. So some people may well have said probably the worst time to enter the industry. Um, and when I did actually join my first company, they did say, "Well, why do you want to come into property?" So I thought that was a really good challenge for me. Um, then I came into agency, absolutely loved it. Still here today, obviously. And I think what I've really enjoyed is being able to go from being a trainee estate agent, all the way up to what I'm doing now as regional sales director at Andrews.
Fantastic. So I'm sure that there's been loads of lessons along the way that you've learned going from a trainee to regional sales director. And well done, because that's an incredible jump. So
Thank
it
you.
shows what you can do. And that's brilliant. So if we go back, so I just want to
Mhm.
start about your first job after uni, and you talked about cold calling, and you talked about being in a boiler room, and obviously that's quite scary, being chucked in at the deep end. But what lessons did you learn by being thrown in the deep end then?
Resilience. I think that is so paramount to anything, especially in that environment, because you do get the knockbacks. You can't even get through. You have to get through the gatekeepers before you get to the decision makers. But for me, it really was the key and laid the foundation towards me being a successful salesperson, because you have to be able to bounce back from all of those setbacks, because you would be making hundreds of calls a day to be able to obviously make sure that you can speak to the decision maker and pitch. And I think that in our industry there are highs and lows, and it's a roller coaster. So for me, that really did set me up. So having a positive mental attitude in anything and everything that you do, I think that is so key. But particularly to my success, because I'm a glass half full person, and I think that perseverance and that energy, I think, is the recipe to success.
Look, 100%, and I couldn't agree more. So, and I think you summed it up really perfectly. We do have good and bad days in this. It is a roller coaster. Some days there are amazing highs, and sadly, there are some incredible lows as well. And I think being resilient is a really important characteristic,
Mhm.
as is understanding that you are going to get rejected. So, how do you cope, or how
Mhm.
did you cope with no, 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 people slamming the phone down saying, "Alex, why are you calling me?" So, how did
You try and handle the objections, but then don't you? And you've had enough. You don't want to spoil any rapport, because it might be an opportunity at a later date. Again, that's like with the industry today, also in the cold calling environment. And I think you just brush yourself up, and you get onto that next phone call. I think that really did set me up, especially well for a estate agency. I think when you get newcomers that you speak to and they come into the industry, they think, oh, you're going out on viewings all the time or you're going out on market appraisals. But the reality is that it's very much a 50-50 divide in terms of being able to speak with customers and physically going and seeing them. So that's a really important element of the business that you need to make sure that people are aware of when they think, oh, I want to be an estate agent.
So where's this positive attitude come from?
I don't know. I think it's just inbuilt and ingrained in me. It's just that I think it just gets me through life, and I've always been that upbeat person. Don't get me wrong, not everything is all fabulous and always merry, but I think that you have to be able to make sure it's self-fulfilling prophecy. If you feel good, if you've got that energy and positivity, it gets you through the day. And something that I feel really strongly and passionately about with my teams and the people that I work with is that it's really important to be able to have fun and be upbeat and be able to have those times within an office environment because we work long hours from from 9 till 6 o'clock to keep that high energy. It can be quite a chore, but that's why you have to have those elements where you're bonding with your teams, you're having fun, you have that banter, because when you're on the phone to customers, they can feel that energy and you feel happy when you're speaking with them. So I think that it impresses on other people. So I think that for me is always the mentality that I have been, and I have to be true to myself because I'm not for everyone. Sometimes it's irritating. It's like, I can be a bit like in your face, but that's just me. And I think that that's another lesson is that to just be true to yourself and authentic and don't change for anybody. Because I think that for me, that's what's got me to where I am today. And that's why I love what I do. And I think that it's really important that other people see that as well.
You know what? It already's come over in the first 5-6 minutes on here. Your energy, your boundless enthusiasm, your
And
great
this
attitude.
helps.
Oh,
Coffee.
okay. Okay.
Lots
So
of coffee.
Starbucks, you get a plug as well. There you go. Maybe
Oh
we should
yeah.
be sponsored by Starbucks now.
And coffee one. Love coffee one.
And love coffee. There you go. So there's loads of things that you talked about there, and there you go. Joe Ryan, so my walking partner on a Sunday, has joined in and says your energy is infectious. So thank
I
you.
love Joe Ryan. Thank you.
There
She's
you go,
amazing.
mutual friends. And then Sultan's watching as well. So thank you for watching, Sultan. We appreciate it. So coming back, you talked about bonding. You talked about creating a team. Okay, so how do you go about build a successful team? What do you look for when you go out and recruit?
That is a great question because you like to be able to see people that are similar to you. But then you can't have too many raw people as well. You have to be able to find that balance and that synergy, otherwise it'd be crazy. But I think that what I look for is, and I'm thinking of the customer. I'm thinking, what will people think when that person is in the living room of a customer in a market appraisal or viewing? Can they connect and can they engage? How do they come across in terms of trustworthy? That's a key word that comes across in our industry, where we obviously try to walk away from the fact of that we have estate agents like traffic wardens or politicians, that we want to make sure that people can trust us. And we are professional and what we do is important. And I think you need to make sure that you've got somebody that has that ethos and those ethics that resonate with you and the company that you represent. So that's something that I feel really strongly about, is being able to have that connection. But equally so, you need to have somebody that is hungry and driven and motivated and positive and competitive, but it has to be balanced, because you don't want to be in that environment where you have cutthroat people and do things underhand. You want to be, well, you want to make sure that you bring people into the business that are going to be a good representation of the organization and also you, because obviously you're their manager. So for me, that's really important.
Where do you find those people?
Oh, I'm always looking. Here's a plug for me. Come and speak to me. If you tick all those boxes, phone me. they're really hard to find. They are really hard to find, and I think that's a thing because we do a lot of recruiting. Oh,
There you go.
I've a
Chewy's joining in.
Chewy's excited.
The
Chewy
dog's
wants to join
joining
my
in.
team.
Charlotte wants to join the team. They're all, the
I
Budgerigar
love
wants
it.
to join the team. So there you go.
So I do obviously use LinkedIn a lot to be able to bring people within to the business, and I think that that is such a powerful tool, definitely. But they are very difficult. They are very difficult to find. It's very difficult to find. So once you've got people within your team, it's being able to, you know, nurture their talent and be able to help them grow and develop within the business and help them with their careers and just instill all of those life lessons that you've learned to make sure that you can again make lots of mini me's.
Okay. So what do you do to nurture that talent once you got them?
Well, exactly. I work in a very collaborative culture. We're fighting. Chewy is just loving what I've got to say. See, so excited.
Absolutely spot on. Absolutely. Perfect timing. We
I
see
love
it's
it.
real now.
It's probably
So
the loudness is probably setting him off.
I think it's my son coming in from school at
Oh,
the time. So hopefully it'll be very quick and and hopefully they keep quiet. Otherwise it's gonna be a long podcast with you and me and the dogs barking the whole time.
oh,
So
bring them
we,
in. They can
we
come
will
in,
see.
can't they?
We will see. Here you go. No. So there you go. My son's just in from school. Hopefully he'll keep them quiet and we can carry on. Okay.
We were just talking about collaboration. So
Yeah.
I very much like my team to have a voice because I like to treat them how I want to be treated, that I have that voice, and that's important as well. And that's really valuable because I absolutely do not know all the answers. I think the best answers are the people that come around, that come from around you. And you really need to tap into that, that talent. You've got all of these voices, you've got these people that are on the field and, doing the day to day, whereas I am managing the people and the teams. So I have to make sure that I'm very in tune to, you know, what they think and their opinions, and I genuinely value those opinions. And I think that's why I've got such a solid team, because we do work together and we have fun. I think, like I said before, Tim, that is so key to make sure that that high energy that is instilled in your team. Not everybody's up for it. Don't get me wrong. Oh God, Alex wants to do another photo, or she wants to do another video, but people do it. People do embrace it as well. But I just think that you have to have fun with everything that you're doing, but with the viewpoint that we all achieve that end goal together as a team, um, and that we have fun along the way to be able to be highly successful performers.
Okay, so you've mentioned have fun 4 times so far. Okay, what does having fun look like to you and your colleagues at Andrews Property Group?
I think that it's just being able to, like we talk about the positivity and the high energy, just being able to keep things fresh and do, random competitions. Or we've got our BM meeting, our branch managers meetings, to have, fun little games in between. So people tend to call them icebreakers or whatever those look like, but just a bit of fun. It mixes it up, because otherwise we always talk about the figures, and that is key. We've got targets and we've got these goals that we need to hit, absolutely, but let's try and mix it up and break it up where people can have fun along the way, because I've worked with a lot of people that have been able to achieve that balance, because it's not all fun, absolutely not. And I wouldn't ever want people to think that that's all that me and my team were about. Absolutely not. We're very successful people, absolutely, but we work together and we have fun along the way.
Okay, so you've most probably worked with, interviewed, learned from loads of people that are top performers. You talked about energy, you talked about resilience. Um, what other qualities do you see or look for, or that you've worked with that are top performing in this industry?
Well, that's a brilliant link to Agents Together, isn't it? Definitely. See what you did there? Which I absolutely love. A massive shout out to Sam Offley. He is an absolute legend. Um, when I found out about Agents Together, I couldn't believe the concept, and that it is available to everybody within our industry, and it's free. People are blown away by that very fact. And I've been fortunate enough to work with Kenny Bruce. Kenny is magnificent, and being able to get that insight and that knowledge, and just the way that he spoke with me and champions me, that's really inspiring. And now I've got Verona. I think that for me, wow, I am truly lucky. But I would also say, if you don't ask, you don't get. So Sam and I have spoke many times, probably sick of me in terms of what I want, what I need, and what I'm looking for. And I'm just absolutely delighted to be a part of this journey. And I think for me, it's being able to also um, share the word with everybody. So I've spoken to lots of people within Andrews, lots of people that I've connected with LinkedIn. They probably think that I get paid for these referrals, but I genuinely, they probably think I'm a salesperson. You get these automated LinkedIn messages when people are trying to flog you things. I'm like, I'm not. You really genuinely have to do it, because it's an incredible initiative, and I just feel so strongly about it that I wave that flag any which way that that I can, really. And now I've got Verona, and I'm just like blown away to have such another powerful leader that I get to work with, that I get to spend time with. And she put a post on LinkedIn recently about paying it forward, which she's doing with me by giving me her time. She's an incredibly busy person, but she is genuinely taking time out of her busy schedule to speak with me. And that really resonates with me, that I want to give that back as well. So I'm speaking with Sam in terms of how I can have a mentee, because it's been so beneficial to me to be able to give back. I think is so critical.
Okay, it's lovely to hear what you say about Agents Together. It's lovely what you say about Sam Offley, and about the mentors there. And I think that Sarah and everybody involved does the most incredible job. And
Oh,
the amount of
absolutely.
the amount of time and behind the scenes work, I don't think people realise what goes on. And I think now there's well over 370 plus mentors.
Wow.
I think there's well over 600 people that have been menteed. There's definitely over 20,000 free hours have been given. And so for people that are watching this, there's an opportunity there to get three FREE,
Free. Free.
help, assistance, coaching, somebody that you can challenge you, get you out of your comfort zone, but ultimately there to help you, guide you, and support you in your journey. And why wouldn't you not want to do it? And I think having a raving fan like you is absolutely amazing. And I know there's a number of other raving fans as well that constantly talk about Agents to Giving and the amazing work that it does. So thank you.
Love it. Big shout out to Sarah Ed as well. Love her. Amazing. Another amazing woman in our industry.
She certainly is. She's absolutely incredible, absolutely fantastic. So Sarah, if you're watching it, keep on doing what you're doing. You're one amazing, inspirational lady. So thank you very much. So coming back. Okay, so let's go back to where you were as a trainee. Okay, so what were the lessons that you've done? And actually, one thing that's just occurred to me is people taking action and accountability and implementing stuff, because loads of people go on to training. They want to self-develop, but then they end up shelf-developing. So to go from somebody who's gone from a trainee to a regional sales director is incredible. So you've obviously implemented and taken loads of action along the way. So being an action taker, how do you do it? How do you implement stuff? How do you make sure it happens day in, day out?
Write things down. I think that is so key, because you have to take ownership. You can't expect people to spoon feed you, micromanage you, because not a lot of people like that. And I think you do have to be self-sufficient and have your own enterprise that you want to build, but only you can do that for yourself. So when you're talking about recruitment, really, Stephen, I think that's so key to see those raw ingredients, because you can build on a lot, but if you don't have the right attitude and you want to be able to achieve and you want to hit targets and you want to progress, um, you can only take people so far. So knowing what I need to achieve, writing it down, breaking it down as well into smaller sections makes it a lot more achievable. So it's actually really simple if you just drill down in terms of what those targets are into bite-sized chunks, but keeping a track of it. I think once you write things down, it's like at the end of the year when you write down your goals and everything that you want to achieve for the year ahead, and then being able to look back and see where you are. Are you on plan? How are you going to achieve that? I think I very much believe in that, those positive affirmations and being able to have vision boards, and that for me is really powerful. I'm a very visual person. So for me, that works. It might not work for everybody, but in terms of me and my journey and my life lessons, that's been really crucial to how I've been able to achieve what I've achieved.
Brilliant. And again, if I'm unpacking that, there's loads of gold in those few sentences. And I've had a privilege to have Vicky Bibarus as a guest on here and Angie Cooney as a guest on here, and both of them are successful agents in their own right, and they've both mentioned vision boards. And the gold corny saying, success leaves clues. Well, success does leave clues. Here is that you do vision boards as well. There's a
Yeah.
reason why you're so successful. I love the thing that you said about breaking things down, okay?
Hmm.
Because and making things far more achievable. Because actually, you may get your target at the start of a year and it could be a very scary number, but breaking it down into maybe months, months, weeks, days, what you need to do, actually it's not as scary if you do that. And again,
Definitely.
one final thing that I think you said, which 100% not enough people look at, is about, are we on track or are we off track? And are they reviewing their goals every 7, 14, 21, 28 days? Because if you're reviewing them after 28 days, it's far too long.
Definitely. I think that is such a good point, because like you said, you'll have that your goal at the beginning of the month, and it's too late by the time you get to the end of the month. You're like, well, you haven't hit it. So, well, what have you done to make sure that you are on track, to be able to make sure that you smash it out of the park?
Okay, so another thing then is people's time management or choice management. So
Yeah.
I can imagine you're incredibly busy. I know you've got a young daughter as well.
Mhm.
How do you manage to juggle everything you do? Because I see you everywhere. You're at this meeting, you're at this meeting, that meeting. You're having your fun. You're having your icebreakers all the time. You're all smiling all the time. But joking aside, how do you manage to juggle every single thing you do?
I think that's the thing. I think good planning is critical. Sam asked a question, interestingly enough, um, on Ages Together, about time management. How do you manage your time? Because my view is to be able to make sure that I get round to as many as my people and be able to go into the branches, not just with my branch managers, but obviously the rest of the team within my network across Bristol and Bath. And but something always will get thrown in the mix and it changes your plan. So I like to be able to plan my week in my Outlook diary for the month, really, because you have certain meetings that you need to attend aside from being working with your team, and you've got one-to-ones that can take over a week and a half sometimes with the amount of people that you're working with. And it is tricky because you have to be able to prioritize and see if something really important happens. It might be that you have to drop that or move that, because one of the worst things you can do is move meetings, especially when people are expecting to see you. And I really don't like to do that unless it is super urgent. So it's being strict as well, because you think, oh, I could move that, but you have to be able to think of the knock-on effect of how it will affect that person. But equally so, if you don't tend to that, what are the consequences? So I think that your mind works at a million times an hour, which is okay with me because I've got lots of coffee on board, so that's fine. Um, but it is tricky, and then being a working mum as well, and making sure that my daughter's looked after, that she's in school, that she's happy, and this, that, and the other. It is a balancing act, and I think you just you just do it. I think that a lot of mums and dads, but would particularly say it's one of those things as part of your routine, and you get used to it, and they get used to it, and you know what you have to conquer, and it's really strange because you just do it. You don't really think about it. You spin all those plates and you multitask and the expectations and everything because you've got to deliver. You've got to make sure that you deliver on your job, on your targets, on your role as a mother, as a partner, as everything really. Um, and sometimes it does. Some things do fall to the side. So friendships maybe. So for me, it's very difficult to be able to incorporate that in my life. But that's something that I'm balancing and I'm trying to work on. And that's why I'm so open to being able to um, get advice and recommendations, and that's where Agents Together works so well for me because it was so funny when you contacted me to do this. It's like, are you sure he's got the right person? It is the whole imposter syndrome because I think there's so many remarkable people that are out there, and I haven't got all the answers, and I'm still learning and still developing. And I think anybody in any position that they are, if they're not open to that and the ego gets in the way, I just personally don't think it's a great thing. And I always want to learn and I always want to develop. So I'm all ears.
Well, so here's a couple of questions for you. So there's some gentleman called Sam Offley. I've never heard of him who's come on here. Thank you both for the shout out. Every time Alex and I speak, Alex is always full of energy, and it's a type of energy that's contagious. If anyone is feeling low, just give Alex a call. Also, so there you go. My bad. We've got over 760 mentorships. So again, thank you
Wow.
to
Amazing.
everybody that take their time for these mentees. And I know both the mentors and mentees both benefit from it. So again, anybody watching this, if you want to know more about becoming a mentor, want to know more about becoming a mentee, you can have a look at the Agents Together website. You can reach out to Sam Uffley, Sarah Edmondson, send me a message and I'll put you in contact with whoever that's needed. And Alex is very shy about it, as we've heard today. So I'm sure you can reach
I
out
just
to
don't
Alex.
understand why everybody doesn't. Why would it's a no-brainer? Honestly, do it.
Right. So coming back to that, learning to say no, because there's
Mm.
going to be a lot of people that are watching this and just say yes to absolutely everything, and then most probably really get stressed, suffer. How do you learn to say no? Because it's hard, isn't it? You can't.
Still
I know you
learning.
can't please
Still
everybody.
learning. No, I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think that it's interesting, isn't it? Because you can tell people to do a certain thing and learn to say no, but I'm still guilty of it. I mean that's the thing, isn't it? But because of your time and how precious it is to make sure that you do, like you said about breaking it down, Stephen, and making sure that things get done and prioritizing everything in terms of what's urgent, what's not. And I think sometimes you just have to be really strict. I think, you know what? Be true to yourself. How are you going to achieve everything? You say yes, and you get bombarded and you get stressed. And I don't think there's any easy way to say how you can tell other people to say no because I'm still learning. I don't think there is. I genuinely don't. And if anybody does, message me. Thanks.
Okay, so now all your raving fans are coming on here. So we've now got Debbie as well. So totally
Ah,
agree. She has so much
Debbie.
energy and always makes me feel good when I speak with her. So you talk about this
Love
imposter
Debbie.
syndrome. Help me understand why you've got imposter syndrome when you've got so many raving fans out there
Oh,
and you're
that's
obviously
so
exceptional at what you do.
that's so lovely. And do you know what? It's great that Debbie was on there. That's really good timing because in in the industry, in Andrew's world, Debbie was a massive figurehead as in a woman, and I think that there's we've got so many within our industry, and for me, I thrive off of that. So we've got the Women in Estate Agency Conference coming up, which I cannot wait for, and it's just what we need, and that community is it's so powerful, and everybody's there to support each other, and they're rooting for each other. There's no egos whatsoever. They genuinely want to help, and it's another platform where people can come together, ask questions, and a safe place, because there's not many women in senior positions, and there's so many key women and influential people, not just women, but I think for me, I feel very strongly as a woman in the industry where there's not a lot of us in senior positions, and also working mothers too. So that's something I feel particularly strong about. And I've just come off a call with my wonderful colleagues at Andrews, where we're trying to recreate something similar within our organisation, which I feel so passionately about. And I'm so excited that we can try and replicate a miniature version within our organisation. And I think that people can only learn and grow from having that, and us acknowledging it, to a smaller degree. But I think that for us, and making sure that we can bring everybody along the journey and support people within an organisation, I'm really excited to see what we achieve.
Fantastic. So another one's come on, Andrew Simmons, legend.
Ah!
I'm sure he's not talking about me, but thank you, Andrew. And Debbie, obviously, I need to get you on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
So give us a shout and we'll try and get you on, or I'll try and
Andrew
contact you.
Simmons, he's the agent that never sleeps. He had the delight of dealing with me when he sold me my house recently.
Good.
So
Now,
he's
should
a
we put
legend.
Andrew on the spot? How was your experience? Joking aside, how was your experience? It doesn't have to be about Andrew, but buying a house
Yeah.
from an agent's point of view. How did you find it? So you can be nice to Andrew or not. It's
Oh,
entirely up to you. But I'm sure there were other agents involved in that. So how was
oh,
your experience?
definitely. So
And what did you learn from that?
I learned, don't tell estate agents that you work in the industry. I think that was the key. So I made sure that stopped mentioning that element of the business, that me and my partner are in the business. So if I'm not going to tell anybody. So when this house came up with Parker's with Andrews, I'm not going to say anything. But then I saw somebody linked to my LinkedIn profile. I was like, damn, my cover's blown, and that was it. But Andrew was brilliant, and I think it's really interesting in terms of those interactions and the communication, because we're so customer centric, and we really want it to be a really great experience. And hiccups happen; they happen with me, and even though we talk about the stresses and this, that, and the other, when you actually go through the emotions and everything from your side, um, you can really have that genuine compassion for people. We talk about it, and I think we can't be flippant in how we deal with it, and how it's not transactional. This is a really emotional purchase and an expensive purchase that people are going through. And also when they're selling their property, their circumstances, you never know what's happening. And I think that we can we can have all those figures and numbers, but we can't shy away from what an important pivotal part we play in that journey of people buying and selling properties. Um, so that's something we really try and drive within our branches and the people that we work with. Um, but it's tricky. Emotions run high. People will kick off at you, but it's having that understanding of why they would, and just try and handhold them through the whole journey as best you can, and give them the advice, give them that direction, and be able to hand over the keys. There's nothing more exciting than giving them those keys at the end of the transaction.
100%. And I think some of the things that you talked about there, communication. So, the market is normal compared to how it was
Yeah.
over COVID, and being very respectful, because I know agents worked incredibly hard at those times.
Oh, yeah.
But the market is different. You're not getting the 20, 30, 40 people standing outside the property, best and final offers. You have to give people time now. And I think there's some agents that at the moment started in 2008. And I remember we opened up a new office in Crouch End in 2008. We spent an incredible amount of money refurbishing this new office, and then it just collapsed. And for us, actually, it was just an incredible opportunity, because there were agents out there that couldn't sell any properties. And even though we were a new agent in that town, people were happy to give us a try. So actually, we got a lot of property on relatively quickly. And I'm sure there's a lot of agents that are not communicating with their sellers at the moment because they're not to see the property. And vendor care to me, it should always be a priority, but even more so now. Even if you're not getting viewings physically, you are getting virtual viewings. So you know what your stats are from Rightmove and your own website and your Facebook and stuff like that. You can see what their competition is. So you need to be having communication. Then you talked about compassion. 100%, about having the empathy that you need to have. And I think coming back to what you said earlier, and this is what I always can't understand with estate agents. So you mentioned trustworthy. So, and I think there was a recent post on LinkedIn that there was a question on family fortunes, which said, who are the most hated professions? And estate agency was on there, and yet we're trusted to sell people's biggest tax-free assets. And most people, what you say, oh, I'm an estate agent, and you go, liar, and whatever. I won't go into what most people say. We'll be polite. And yet we're entrusted to deal with somebody's biggest tax-free asset. And how can estate agents build that trust? How can we demonstrate it? Because there are some exceptional world-class estate agents out there that don't get the praise that they should be receiving. So, what can we do as agents to build that trust?
I think that's the ultimate question, isn't it? And I think that if we knew, we'd be doing it day after day. And I think that it's more so in the actions, that what you're doing and how you're interacting and how you're behaving, that in itself will produce that trust. Because I don't think that you can say, oh, you can trust me, because it's like, well, prove it. And I think that's what our job is, that almost that trust can only really be seen at the very end, because they've been able to see your emotions and how you react and how you behave. But I think it's really difficult to be able to measure that, apart from if you know that you're doing the right thing, that you're doing everything above board, that you're a qualified agent. And I think that that's so key to how we operate within an organization, within Andrews. And it's really important to us, and that's something that we really strive to do, and want to be the best at in the industry.
Okay, so a couple of final questions, because I'm really grateful of your time, and I can hear my stomach rumbling. So, but you talked about being a qualified agent. So obviously we've got Property Mark out there. So does everybody have to go through Property Mark when they come and work for you? And why do you see I know you've explained it, but why should people be going to Property Mark and getting that qualification? Because I agree with you 100%. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been wondering in my 30 years doing this why there's no regulation still, and why estate agents don't have a license. And I just did an interview earlier this morning. It's going to come out on Sunday with Matt LaHood, the CEO of the agency in Australia, and they're all licensed out there. And in America, they're licensed out there. But the UK, you can be a butcher or a dentist one day, and then the next day you're an estate agent. So why do you feel Property Mark, having a qualification, is really important? Or, we speak about Charlotte at the Able Agent.
Yes, absolutely.
What Charlotte's doing as well, to help change and regulate the industry. But what's the benefits of whether it's with Charlotte, with Property Mark? Why do you think your colleagues go through that program?
I think it makes you credible in terms of what you're doing, rather than, don't like the expression, but winging it. And I think that that's the key. And we've worked with Charlotte at the Able Agent to be CPAP qualified. So we've constantly got our intake of making sure that everybody within Andrew's Property Group will be qualified. And I think that if you look across the industry in terms of who is, who isn't, I think that will instill that confidence and that trust piece, really, Stephen, to our customers. And I don't think there's anything more powerful than that, because of the time and the expense that goes into it. It does make it a lot more serious, rather than just going on a viewing and doing this, that, and the other. And I think that that's why historically agents have been given a bad reputation. Whereas I do think that this would solidify making sure that people know what they're doing the right thing, knowing what the laws are. And then that way, I think that our industry as a whole will be put in a lot more favourable light than it has historically.
100%. So
And
you
Charlotte's
talk.
amazing. Charlotte at the Able Agent, love her, amazing.
There you go, another raving fan, Charlotte. Um, you talked a lot about learning and growing, and I know obviously you learn and grow with Bruce, Ken Bruce that you talked about, and you also talked about Veronica and how she's making a difference. So apart from there, and apart from Property Mark, if people are watching and listening to this now, what recommendations would you have for books, podcasts, or people to follow?
Oh, that's a good one. So one of my ultimate old school books, The Secret. Love The Secret. And again, that's again about being able to put positivity out to the universe, so you can see in terms of what I encompass. Um, your podcast, obviously.
Obviously, that goes without saying.
Obviously, obviously.
Okay, I won't
Um,
test you on my last one then.
no, don't test me on the last one. I'm still trying. I need to catch up on quite a few, and I think that's something that I need to make more time for. And that's one of my commitments to myself when I'm doing my goals, is being able to make sure that I've got more podcasts and TED Talks to be able to make sure that I'm instilling all this information, because I think that we can get so busy doing other things, but being able to take that time to diarize, like we said, and prioritize it. I need to make sure that I have an hour of me time, but in a sense of be able to grow and develop. So what podcast am I going to listen to? What webinar am I going to attend? And I think that we've got so much at our disposal to be able to attend for free. And that's something that I do actually need to put into my day-to-day learnings, because I don't do enough of it, and that's something that I need to learn from. But I do very active on LinkedIn, and there's a lot of great people that I follow. I'm particularly interested in women are in our industry. Not to say there aren't any amazing men, because there are, absolutely, but I think that that's something that I particularly feel passionate about. So all of the women that are involved in Women in the Estate Agency, the group, and you've seen obviously the conference that's coming up in March, which will be absolutely incredible. We've mentioned a lot of key women are in our industry at the moment, and there are so many that I absolutely admire and are so influential. And I think that I love the work that they're doing. So Ellie Rees at the moment, she's obviously campaigning for the Dear Sirs, and I love that. She's really pushing that. Megan 18, oh, absolute queen. We've got all of these brilliant people within our industry, and I don't think people realize how great the community is, that people will reach out to you and they do want to speak to you. And if you do need help for anything, doesn't matter, where you are, that you have got these people that you can approach, and they want to help you, and they do it, joyfully. And I think that we are extremely lucky to have such incredible women in the property industry. So don't shy away from it, and be a part of it. I think there's some really exciting things to come, and it's quite interesting at this day and age. We have this conversation, and there's still many glass ceilings we've got to break through, but we will. There's a powerful
Well,
force for sure.
I am looking forward to being on the panel there as well.
I know. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
I'm looking forward to meeting you again as well. You've been absolutely fantastic today. So thank you very much. And I know on the Women in Estate Agency conference, there's only a handful of tickets left. So, this isn't a sales ploy. If you want to go, you need to book very, very quickly. Otherwise, you're going to be on the waiting list. So well done to Liana and Claire and Lucy and Elle. I've mostly missed out somebody, so I'm really, really sorry. But I think you're doing an incredible job putting it all together. And I think it's going to be a really exciting event.
Can't wait.
And
Cannot wait.
so I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for your time. You've got
Thank you
so
for
much
inviting me.
so much passion, and so many raving fans. It's incredible. So thank you very much. Thank you all for watching and listening today. Alex, if people want to find you and get hold of you, you've mentioned LinkedIn. Anywhere else?
That's it. All on
Okay.
LinkedIn. That's the main social that I use. So
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you for being an amazing guest. I really look forward to meeting you soon. Thank
thank
you,
you for
everybody.
inviting
Have a really
me.
good afternoon. Cheers,
Thank you
everybody.
so
Bye.
much.